Okay, well, here we are for episode 4. This may or may not include some sound effects because I just showed Robert the tricks I can do with Adobe Audition, so he may set me up to make him sound like he just breathed in a balloon or something. Or may not. We don't organize these things.
Organization is not our strong point, but...
Yeah, Audition looks like some fun kind of wizardry, and we should play with that in the future.
Oh, I do. I have the time. So we were going to talk about kind of like, we were going to talk about BoJack Horseman, but it turns out Robert hasn't seen it yet. He has strong opinions about it, but hasn't seen it. Which, to be fair, I have strong opinions about like 2 X-Men movies I haven't seen.
Including Logan.
I don't have strong opinions about Logan. I tell you right up. I have strong opinions about First Class because I've seen 10 minutes of First Class because cable TV works like that. And granted, it might be great except for those 10 minutes.
First Class was an excellent James Bond movie set in the Marvel Universe. The fact that one of the big deals was that they had a nuclear submarine, and that was like a big deal, and it touches on the Cuban Missile Crisis. It's just like, it was nice. I liked it. I'm not saying it was a masterpiece, but I liked it.
Well, I mean, like, I love the X-Men. I saw X-Men 1. I mean, like, okay. What point did you hate about the first X-Men movie?
First X-Men movie, well, it was hard. Okay, this was back when superhero movies were...
No, but the one thing you hated most about it. Because I know right away what the first thing I hated most about it.
Oh, geez, let me think about it. Personally, I hated Cyclops. But that's what I hate about X-Men, so...
Did I tell you my Mallrats theory?
What's that?
So, did you read the Brood series of X-Men, like 160 to 166, where they're kidnapped by the Brood and they're implanted with eggs?
No, I can't actually read.
Oh. Well, there's a part where it switches over and Wolverine has to be the voice of reason and Cyclops starts going on berserker rages. Again, partly because of he's got this basically alien developing in his stomach and influencing his thoughts. And if you see Mallrats, which is Kevin Smith, and he's deeply steeped in X-Men mythology, there's a part where you have like this, again, between the two leads, this Cyclops-Wolverine dynamic, and then Jason Lee becomes the voice of reason, and the other guy, whose name I don't remember, becomes the crazy going off on it, unhinged. And I totally think that's a tribute to like X-Men 165.
I don't know if Kevin Smith is that subtle, but...
Oh, but he is when it comes to comic books.
I guess I could see that.
Anyway, but like Cyclops is supposed to be the annoying voice of reason. So I don't hate annoying characters that are designed to be annoying for being annoying. In fact, I think Cyclops might be the coolest he's ever been in X-Men 1. He owns a freaking Harley for some reason.
Just to have it stolen by Wolverine. That's the only reason he has a Harley.
But he has it.
It's true.
I'm not saying Cyclops was cool. I didn't say. I said he's the coolest he's ever been, which is not necessarily cool, but like on the scale, if he's a 5 of coolness, he probably hits like a 6 in X-Men the first movie.
Now I do remember what I hated about that movie was the dialogue.
Oh, so terrible.
Yeah, that was, that's where we got Storm.
Yes, that's it. Thank you. I knew you were going to go there. Good minds think alike.
Yes. Good is a strong word, but yes. But yes, do you know what happens to a toad? I mean, everyone trashes that line.
It's so horrible, but it's like it stands out. It's not the worst line of that movie because it is, but it might be the worst line of movies that year, maybe the worst line of movies that decade. It may be the worst line in any superhero movie ever.
That might be worth looking into, though painful to do the research on.
No, I'm not doing that research. I barely do the research I have to for my job. I mean, if any people, my clients are listening to this, I do an amazing amount of research. I research the hell out of my job stuff.
We're currently standing in a small fortress of paperwork.
The fortress of law.
Yes. No, and X2, which, again, you didn't see, but gave us Alan Cumming as Nightcrawler. Alan Cumming is one of my heroes in life.
What's he in?
He's he's more like who, am I right? No, he is very, very Scottish and very, very gay. He's in a lot of musicals. He is in Reefer Madness the musical. As a matter of fact, he makes Reefer Madness the musical as amusing to watch, sober or otherwise. He also has his own brand of cologne called Coming that men spray all over their faces. It's just, the fact that he has that high caliber.
Well, how old is he? Like when he makes them when he's Nightcrawler.
He's he looks like mid, early 20s, though I do believe as an actor he's older than that at the time. I mean, it was an interesting take on Nightcrawler. They went super Catholic German.
Because it was also the first introduction. Like, it's not like Nightcrawler 10 years after hanging around and drinking beers with Wolverine.
Yeah. And X2 had brought us these things, gave us a glimpse of Colossus, which of course...
So terrible.
Yes, because that's just because every other word out of his mouth wasn't in mother country. Because when you do Colossus, you make him ridiculously Russian. Thank you, Deadpool.
Well, yeah, but for me, I guess there's two things. The Boy Scoutness came in through in Deadpool, and just the graphics, the visuals, the CGI of Colossus. I mean, he looked scary as fuck. He looked intimidating, and that's never happened before.
Yeah, and they gave him the Boy Scout attitude. They did the character right. But yeah, so X2 gave us these great openings for these characters, and then X3 was like, oh, never mind. Like... It would have been great to see those characters again, but...
I was excited about X3. That's what hurts the most. I wanted to see Fraser as the Beast. I thought that would be fun.
Oh, yeah.
And it may have been. That may have been a good part, but there was so much shit that I can't remember anything good about X3.
Yeah. That was such good casting. He is... I always imagine Hank McCoy, speaking like what's name. Fun fact, what's name, because I'm drawing a blank on his actual name, Fraser.
Kelsey Grammer.
Thank you. Yes, Kelsey Grammer.
That makes up for you schooling me on Discworld knowledge in our first podcast.
Fair.
Oh, did you ever look up and see what the cat's name was?
No, I think we actually figured it out, though.
No, we didn't.
No, we didn't.
Fuck it, I'm Googling it.
All right, let's Google it.
You talk while I Google.
Okay, so, anyways, Kelsey Grammer actually appears on a Vandals album. On the song Phone Machine, or Answering Machine. He's actually apparently the voice of the Answering Machine. That is sort of the preface to that song. Hello, no one can hit the phone right now, but for your convenience, your call's being answered automatically. This is a song that came out when answering machines were new. I just really am older than Methuselah, aren't I?
You hope you're not, because Grebo.
Grebo? How could we forget that? It's one letter away from Greedo.
I know, well, because, what does that mean, Grebo?
That is a Star Wars name. I was going to say it sounds like a Star Wars name, but that is a Star Wars name.
Is there someone called Grebo?
Greedo.
Well, yeah, but it's not. It's Grebo.
Yeah, close enough.
Well, yeah, okay, sure.
So Greedo and Max Rebo had a baby, and there's a slash fic for that, I'm sure.
There's slash fics for everything. Just in case it was on the podcast, tell us about codependency, your theory about relationships, because I'm not sure it made it to the first episode.
Yeah, I think that was a conversation we had outside, actually. Well, it was relationships and codependency, just being a codependent person. Let's get into mental illness, shall we?
Oh, we're in.
So the fun thing about...
Do you think sane people make podcasts?
I actually don't believe in sane people. My belief is not a question if you're crazy, it's a question of what kind of crazy do you have and do you manage it. My particular laundry list includes anxiety, depression, ADHD, and codependency.
Talk about that one.
Yes, codependency. That means if things go really well in a relationship, that's just when they can go really badly. That's where you have someone, your happiness is entirely their fault, and vice versa. The happiness or lack thereof. That's a laundry list of terrible, terrible habits. And I think a lot of more people have that, or at least those habits, than they realize.
See, I hate being alone. Do you know what I hate just a little bit more than being alone?
What's that?
Being intimately involved with someone else.
That's a whole other spectrum.
No, but I mean, like, so if I date someone, it's gonna be like, I need you, I want to see you more than anything ever, and then I'm like, but I really want you not to be here, and I feel trapped. And then I'm like, why'd you leave? Well, you said you felt trapped. Well, that doesn't mean I want you to go. People can enjoy feeling trapped.
I might call that aromantic. Got some asexual friends, aces. It's not something I can really wrap my head around. Not kind of the opposite, but people who are like never want sex except maybe once a year, and I'm like, what is it like that once a year? And do they, if two asexual people are in a relationship, do they like, schedule it? Does that like once a year mesh up right? Just kind of hope and roll the dice.
No, I'm not like asexual. Though I mean, like, given that I haven't had sex in 3.5 years, you could be forgiven for thinking so. But that's more lack of opportunity. Being 40 is fun, guys. Get married. It doesn't matter who. Just get married before you turn 40. In fact, like, I don't know if you've experienced this, but you go on dating websites, and it's like if you haven't been married and you don't have kids, they don't want to date you. You're like, what's wrong with you? Why don't you have kids you're not taking care of? Like, having kids that someone left you for, and that you probably aren't paying proper child support, is more appealing than not having kids.
True facts. It is at this point. I am also turning 41 next month. And yeah, people our age are all divorced or still married. You know, I've actually talked to ladies about this age, and they're like, "Where are all the good men gone?" I'm like, "Well, sorry, they've been married." And if they're really good, they're making it work. That's not entirely true, by the way. Not a moral, value judgment on people whether or not they can make a marriage work. I maintain better single than settling. Right.
I'm just talking about, anyway, I have very much the push-pull, and that can be exhausting for other people. So I understand why I'm alone. But I'm not happy about it. I just understand it. But this guy got far afield. We're going to talk, oh yeah, so Grebo, apparently, is the name of the cat that we didn't know the name of.
Grebo, who now sometimes turns into a human, and his primal flight response has actually got a third option now, which is fight, flight, or turn human.
Well, but Granny Weatherwax is Geordie. That's her accent. I only learned this recently because I didn't know what a Geordie accent was. But she's a very specific type of English accent.
Being a Star Trek The Next Generation fan, the mental image in my head was just improbable.
No, but there's a British TV show, Geordie Shore. There's a British comedian, Sarah Millican. If you want to kind of hear what Granny Weatherwax would sound like, I mean, she's not old like Granny Weatherwax, but if you want to hear what that accent sounds like off the page, just Google Sarah Millican and watch her for 2 minutes, and you'll be like, oh, that's Granny Weatherwax. Oh, I hear it now. And Nanny Ogg and all that. Not Granny Weatherwax. That's my bad. Nanny Ogg.
Oh, Nanny Ogg. Yeah, I remember I got my sister I think I got it. It was me, but I got my sister her cookbook.
Oh.
Published the cookbook with the banana surprise. Because remember, she knows how to spell banana. She doesn't know how to stop. But the banana surprise vegetable soup, in which there's a banana sticking up, and as you eat the soup and the level of the fluid lowers, the banana pokes out quite suggestively, because that's Nanny Ogg.
Geordie.
I had to brush up on my British subcultures, or is that like dialects?
Dialects. There's a good YouTube channel, Anglophenia, and they have a video, 19 British accents in like 4 minutes.
I could manage a few. I actually, when I meet Londoners or meet people from England at the club, the last several have been Londoners, I get to offhandedly remark, "Oh, my father schooled in Nottingham. Yes, I've got PG tips at home, and brown sauce, HP sauce for a proper bacon sandwich. We had crackers at Christmas," and I unfortunately fall into a horrible approximation of a British accent.
But which British accent?
Yeah. And, the one I heard on TV that one time.
I mean, like, I'm as guilty of this, but I spent 2 years watching, like, 8 out of 10 Cats Does Countdown, which has led me to, like, hear, like, 25 different kinds of British accents. And I'm like, oh, they're very different, and that's been interesting for me. I like I like British comedy because it's intelligent.
And that's the thing. There is this, especially in America, British accents convey, for us, for a lot of us, an amount of intelligence and elegance and sophistication. I have actually come up with a character I intend to bring to the next steampunk event. Because everyone is a fucking Baron Lord Chestington III, very sophisticated and what, and I have Grimly Creeper Chimney Sweeper. You're a nice bit of crumpet. Yeah, he's gonna get me arrested because he is, pouch full of black soot, getting, everyone's costume ruined with overly enthusiastic handshakes, coughing up the black soot, just... Sorry about that, just a wee bit of the black lung. Saving up to get all the best diseases. You've made it when you've got a bit of lung in your hanky.
Right. Well, okay. I say British is more intelligent because I was watching a British wrestling analysis show, and they made a Waiting for Godot reference.
Okay, that is
and
clever.
I was watching, and the whole premise of It Tesla's Countdown is it's comedians solving math problems and solving anagrams.
Oh, jeez.
Okay, do you think that's a popular show in England? It's on TV.
Yeah, they've got Stephen Fry, and that's just...
QI. Have you seen QI?
Bits, mostly. I've actually read Stephen Fry. It made me actually have again my intelligence just reading one of his novels.
No, but I heard which was that the one Liar or something like that?
Yes, The Liar.
I read that. Wasn't overly impressed by it, but QI is a really amazing show where they just say everything you know is wrong. And then sometimes they go, what we knew was wrong, and they do an episode where they correct things that they said.
Yeah, amazing accountability in media.
Oh, man. You see, if we had a Stephen Fry, Trump would have killed him.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I'm sure if Stephen Fry was in Russia.
Oh. Yeah, Stephen Fry, by the way, is really one of my huge role models. Him and Alan Cumming. So, I am straight, but I guess just barely because all my role models are gay. Stephen Fry is, just brilliant and a humanist, which, suits me just fine. I'm not, I don't want to sound like an extremist. I just believe all religion is mental illness.
We got to talk about mental illness. So you were saying anxiety, codependency, any other flavors?
So that's the list, at least as far as I've gotten with my therapist. Also, I believe everyone should be seeing a therapist. It's like having a dentist. Just go see them. And more people have chiropractors than they have therapists. I think that's very wrong.
I think. Well, so I'm very self-analytical, which is like why I have like elements, according to my therapist when I saw one, of schizoid personality disorder, which is not schizophrenia. We are not schizophrenic. That was meaning the many different subsets that make up me as a we. But which an interesting characteristic of that is having like very much analysis of your own thoughts and why you do things, and corollary being very suspicious and not understanding how other people don't analyze and how do things and either are incorrect about why they do them or have no idea why they do them. And nothing's more frustrating to someone with like any schizoid personality disorder elements of like, well, why did you do that? I don't know. I just did it. What does that mean? I don't know. Like, you have to think they're lying, but they might not be lying, although they probably are. But they might not be lying. People just do things apparently and don't think why. I don't understand that. Well, I guess I'll ask someone else because you're right here. Robert, do you ever do things and not know why you do them?
So I am an overly analytical person too. I was raised by a wild pack of therapists. Dad was PhD, mom was MFCC, marriage, family, child counselor. So, and the result of that, and being that familiar with psychology, is crawling up into a little roly-poly pill bug with your own head up your own ass, analyzing every single thing. So I sympathize with the idea of how can you really relate to someone who hasn't already, analyzed every step of the way of arriving to a decision. On the other hand, sometimes you just get to the edge of the cliff and you hear that little voice inside you saying, jump, jump, jump. And sometimes you do.
But that's still understanding. Like, you know, I weighed the pros and cons. I was like, I could not jump and live, but there was a voice inside that said jump, and I was like, okay, I'm in. Like, I would get that. You can analyze and make bad decisions. You can be like, doing drugs is a really bad thing, likely to reduce my lifespan, reduce my libido, but this hot girl is doing it, and there's a chance if I do it too, I'll sleep with her. I'm totally okay with that analysis.
You know, I've definitely done things without thinking about it, and that is the place, especially as a child, you get told, why did you do that, and you really have no answer. That is, I think, the epitome of what you're describing, is that I honestly don't know. It was just the thing, the person came by, I made the choice, but I didn't make the choice, the actions just kind of happened. I mean, I did, and no one else controlled me, but I can't tell you what was going through my head, and that's exactly what people want to know in that example of what was going through your head.
I don't have that. Like, I mean, like a flash of anger, of rage, certainly, you know. I've punched people without making a conscious decision of why I punched them. But that's not the usual. I don't go around punching people. Well, I'm sorry. I don't go around punching people without knowing the reason why I punch people. I'm not an idiot.
I suppose, I don't know, I feel like it's splitting hairs because there is a process, we're just not always aware of our own processes.
Well, sure, but that's the thing I don't understand. Not being aware, not at least, even not saying in the moment, but not being willing or not being able to retroactively go, okay, maybe I did just make that choice, but what was going on in my head where I made that choice? Anyway, that's the thing that I don't understand, and probably Robert is halfway between me and a normal human being, as he has some understanding of that, whereas I just think people are lying or idiots, or lying idiots.
Again, I don't believe normal human beings are a thing. Mental health is an illusion in that there is no such thing as a perfectly mentally healthy individual. People have this, idea of neurotypical. I don't think there is a neurotypical person. I don't think there's like if you wanted to find a perfect example, I think everyone strays from this line.
Well, but to refute that, like 5'8" is the average height. That doesn't mean more people are 5'8" than more people are 6 feet. It just means in the bell curve, more people are within a range of 5'8" than within a range, a standard deviation, if you will, of 6 feet.
See, and my theory, with zero evidence to back it up except my own experience and anecdotal evidence,
As a podcast, we're not doing a research paper.
Is that for all the little things that would have to be just correct in someone's mind and their mentality and their emotional states and their upbringing, all those things being perfectly neurotypical, I don't believe that person exists. I believe everyone has some extreme, which to the point where they would not be considered neurotypical.
I don't know. What's a bell curve? I mean, I might not just be disagreeing with you that much. I'm just saying that there has to be one person who's completely stable. Just because there has to be someone who's completely bug-fuck crazy. It's a bell curve.
The person may exist.
Out of 4 billion people, whatever the population is on the earth right now, there's somebody who's perfectly sane.
Maybe, but there may also be a tooth fairy.
Out of 4 billion, well,
actually, it's very likely that someone's out there collecting teeth. Actually,
a lot more than one.
Closer to 7, getting towards 8 now, billion. That's a lot of people.
Google it. We're not a population data podcast.
I will say, start adopting more people.
But I mean, like, I do think there's a range, and if not sanity, then call it stability, to the point where you're, I don't know, maybe actualized, or maybe not even like you choose to be developed through therapy, just how stable is your personality versus how fractured. How difficult is it for you to make decisions that are rational? And
speaking of rational, I love psychology. As a matter of fact, I want to go back to school for it. Because the idea of what makes someone atypical, neuroatypical, if that's even the word. But I have a lot of friends on the spectrum for autism and Asperger's. As a matter of fact, I would say most of my friends are somewhere on that spectrum. The person who is kindest to me and saves my bacon the most is someone who technically, depending on your definition, doesn't actually care. Actually doesn't experience empathy in the same way other people do. And
Is this person like twice the size of other people?
yes.
Just so we're clear. But interesting enough, because I think I've got a lot of common with this person, is he has, let's say, an ethical code rather than a moral code.
Exactly. And I maintain that his decision to emulate compassion is actually more morally valid than someone who has a knee-jerk gut feeling to help others. He doesn't have that. He instead makes the conscious decision, I will be a source of good instead of something else. And that is, I think, precious and rare.
And it's interesting that his best friend for a long time could be said to someone who also lacks empathy and makes the exact opposite conscious decision.
His former best friend, yes.
Sure, but am I wrong?
Yeah, well,
I mean, I could be wrong. I don't know this person that well, but that we were just having a discussion, and it's an interesting kind of inverse balancing each other out.
Suffice to say that I am against any argument that girls only go for assholes, or that tired argument of bad boys always get the girls. And I hate this person because he's that one grain of truth to that whole line of thinking, because he is the asshole and he's ridiculously. Anyway, he is.
We'll table that for a different
Yes,
podcast.
yes.
We will have the asshole debate on podcast, because I very much believe that to be true. Although what I say always is that it may be more correlation than causation.
Yeah.
People are as much dicks as they can get away with, and good-looking people get away with being much more dickish than other people.
I maintain that it is putting yourself out there more, and no one puts themselves out there more like someone with narcissism or some similar condition.
Well, but also people learn behavior. Is that if you put yourself out there 10 times, you get rejected 9, you're like, I'm maybe going to stop this. You put yourself out there, and if you're good looking and people accept you like 9 times out of 10. Have you seen 30 Rock with John Hamm?
Just a bit.
There's an episode of John Hamm, you can Google it, where he's a ridiculously good looking doctor. And turns out he's a terrible doctor, but his teachers all passed him because he was ridiculously good looking. And then he plays tennis, and he's horrible at tennis, but all these hot girls come over to him and go, oh, would you teach me? I'll pay you to be my tennis instructor. And it turns out like he was a paid tennis instructor in college, and he's horrible at it. And then she makes him like realize how people would treat him if he wasn't this good looking. And he's like, you've shattered all my illusions. I hate you.
That would be nice. There should be a project making pretty people ugly for a day. That would be great.
Well, but again, a discussion we're at table. So I don't think we're disagreeing about I think it's interesting sort of that there is a range of fucked up. Like you have people who are on the spectrum, and again, I know someone who's deep on the autism spectrum, and created in her mind, because she's really smart, and she's older, she's like 60, but she created a flow chart in her mind of how to be a gregarious social person.
Huh.
But it's all road mapped. It's all like constructed the way like someone might learn their lines in a play.
Neat.
And that's self-described. Obviously, I'm not privy to her inner mental state, not being a telepath, but that's how she describes her process. And being that she appears to be a very truthful person, I believe it, and there's enough corollary evidence to support it.
Went from X2 into psychological theory.
These are going to be wide-ranging, rambling podcasts.
Yes. We don't have a train of thought so much as a bumper car of thought. Just hang on, folks.
I think that's a good place to. Well, do you have any last thoughts on mental illness you want to share? any inspirational thoughts? Like, don't kill yourself; it gets better.
Well, okay. The last time I had some last thoughts about sales, it was about.
Yeah, let's do differently than that. But I mean, like you've survived. You haven't killed yourself.
right.
Any encouragement you want to give to people struggling in their 18s and their 20s?
You're not so crazy that no one can help you. As a matter of fact, you're not all that special. They know what they're doing. Go see a therapist, talk it out. Your mental state is workable. You can, whatever you've got going on, you can get happiness.
I guess, I don't want to go with that. Not that you're not special. I do think everyone is unique. And I don't think that therapy is so much the knowledge of the therapist. I think it's the talking to someone objectively and getting your shit out there instead of inside you. And even then, the knowledge that they might not be able to say, you are this, but they may say you share traits with this. And at least knowing there's a name for what some of the stuff that's fucking you up is, and that there are people who've dealt with it and survived it, is a big thing. Like the thing I was dealing with, I'd never heard of schizoid personality disorder, and that's not what my therapist eventually diagnosed me with. What she ended up saying was PTSD, but the elements, the fact that these things that were deeply disturbing to me had a name and had a label, and I shared them with other people, was extremely comforting to me. And I guess that we're both saying that if you have troubles, talk to someone. And we're not, at least I'm not saying it will help. I am not at all saying therapy will help. But if you're fucked up and it's bothering you, your responsibility to do something about it, and therapy is a good place to start. And I'm going to end it on that.
Much better than mine.